Welcome back, everybody, and I trust that everyone had an enjoyable, informative, and productive day today. On behalf of the organizers, we'd like to thank you all once again for your contributions. To wrap up this afternoon, I'd like to ask our co-chairs, Mary, Samantha, Tristan, and Barry, to join us on stage. Sometimes you really need to refresh your script before you say what you have written. They will join us on stage with their brief comments on the progress made during today's meetings. I've been mainly attending on the infrastructure side, and I can tell you it was really quite informative, and it's just wonderful to get the conversation going. And I thank you all for your participation, but I'll turn it over now to the co-chairs. Mary and Samantha first.
Oh, good thing I got in just in time, right? Maybe if you just stand up. First of all, we just want to say that our driver group, I don't know if you guys had as much fun or if it was as interested in as our session, but we were kind of proud about the special people we had, not only as panelists, but also the audience, and in terms of their engagement, the questions, the solutions that were generated. Lots and lots of excited ideas that we can now pull together, build on, in order to inform us about next steps in terms of the work that's ahead for our driver group. But just to share with you a couple of key messages and then things that struck me as one of the co-chairs, and Samantha will share a few points as well. We heard about the National Workforce Development Agency, a young agency within our ministry, newly established, talking about a new product that we think has the potential to transform business, the lives, the expertise, the skills, the work readiness of our employees, both in government and the private sector. And we heard about how that tool is already being implemented in the National Workforce Development Agency, but we're also piloting it within a couple of private sector programs. And just one point that really came out, one of the testimonies from a company that is using it and implementing it, because it's a career guidance tool. There's an assessment tool that can assess levels and competencies in relation to jobs that people are seeking, but it also provides an online training program as well. So once you know which levels you have achieved, it provides you with opportunities then to study and raise your levels. And hearing one testimony about the use of this program within the context of an organization that is really fully committed to training and development and the impact that that's had. And just one statistic, as a result of this training program introduced over a year ago, and this product that we're talking about, Work Keys, Career Ready 101, is a part of that program. But hearing the testimony about how that's transformed their business practice and their employment practices. They started 1 year ago with 15% of their workforce, and they have in the hundreds, being Caymanian, now switched to 45%. So those are wonderful statistics. It just talks about the impact that this tool has, the potential it has. Another employer I thought was very brave, spoke about something that's very near and dear to my heart. In our ministry, of course, as government, we believe in our responsibility to do more and to be more effective in whether it's in early childhood, throughout our compulsory education and tertiary, to deliver to you as employers the kind of people that are trainable, that will help you to be successful in your businesses. But my position has always been very clear. You cannot just rely on government to deliver you the perfect employee. Employers share that responsibility. And we had an employer speak to us and say, hands up, I admit our company isn't doing very well with this matter. We have people come in, our attitude is, we have a business to run, we give you a warning, you got to do this for us or you're out the door. But admitting and saying that's not enough. If we want to take our society forward, our country forward, employers have a responsibility to do more. And we heard lots of initiative and examples about what doing more actually means. So lots of feedback there. We heard, of course, the normal feedback about what are some of the issues facing employers in terms of the people that they're facing coming in looking for employment. We heard about lack of motivation. We heard about issues with work ethics. But also we heard questions posed by others saying, well, we need to stop and ask As employers, why is it? Do you have a role to play? Is there something we need to look inward and say, why are the people that are coming to our doors or working within our institutions, why aren't they responding in this positive way? And things that came up about showing respect, looking at the working environment, looking at the working conditions, looking at the opportunities provided for training and development. All of that can help to transform a person who is perhaps not where you want them to be, but has potential. And so it's about a message. Yes, we must set standards. Yes, but we must raise expectations. Yes, we must say that in order for you to be an employee that we want to retain, you have to deliver. But it's also about sharing that responsibility and for training, for development, partnering with the government, with our schools, our education system to be part of the solution. And I think I could go on and on and on, but I want Samantha to share some other points as well. So we had a wonderful day. Our group was wonderful. We learned a lot. We're looking forward to taking things to the next step. Samantha?
Just a couple points I've got. My whole book is full of notes, and we took away priorities from each of the panel sessions. So that's all in here to be analysed and worked on for the next priorities going forward. I have just two final pieces that really stood out to me. One of the themes that kept coming out was we've seen so many initiatives over the years. We need consistency of approach. We need consistency in partnerships and consistency in communication. One of the great ideas that came to me over coffee, and I think it was from ICCI, we're talking about, we're all on LinkedIn. So what a great way, and today I'm going to use all of the Develop Talent Driver Group emails to get hooked up with you on LinkedIn, and let's start a forum for Develop Talent. So at least we're communicating, we can share ideas, and that's a great platform for us to then partner. So that's my number one takeaway. Stay informed, contribute and partner with us via LinkedIn. So watch out for my request and do not decline me.
She means it.
One of the other, I was very bossy today as well, as all the other panelists will know. So how do we build a lifelong learning culture? We had some great stories throughout the panels giving us their feedback on what lifelong learning looks like to them. And the recurring theme was not stopping at the surface. And so we had great examples again around this whole thing of a bad attitude and lack of motivation. We owe it to our employees to understand what the source is of that bad attitude or that motivation. And once we get to the source, and we might not be the experts to deal with that source, but we do have experts on island who can deal with that. And it goes deeper, and it's a better understanding of what those issues are. It's not walking in and saying, you've got an attitude problem and walking away. It's getting to the root of that. And lifelong learning, a great story from one of the organizations about their intern program and the value that they see in that, okay, this job isn't necessarily your job for life. You can't necessarily sustain the long hours that you're doing this, but you're learning such great skills that will be transferable to another organization. And it's that kind of openness that we've got to embrace. We can't be looking at the organization and saying, well, I'm not going to train you up because you're then going to be poached or you're going to leave. If we're going to build a lifelong learning culture and society, we can't put our head down and just look at our organization. We've got to look at developing our talent for other organizations. That's a wrap. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mary and Samantha. You know, it's really neat to see the conversation that comes about when you take the context higher. And that's clearly what's happened here is removing a lot of the interference that comes when you start to deal with the how of something and getting to the why. We're all in it for the right reasons. Sometimes the how we implement it becomes the challenging part. And a day such as today, where we take it up to a lot higher level, clearly generates incredible ideas, not just in the sessions, but outside in the break times, bringing people together. So thank you very much for that. And now I'd like to ask Barry and Tristan to deliver the report on theirs. If I could also just first acknowledge the attendance of the Premier, Honourable Makiva Bush. Thank you very much, sir, for attending our closing ceremonies today. Thank you, sir, for taking the time today. I know it's a busy day with Parliament in session. So, Barry and Tristan, if you could just give a quick wrap-up of your sessions.
Yeah, thank you, David. I think we had a very interesting group of sessions today with building a smarter infrastructure. I think what we came away with essentially was that there's a lot of work ahead of us. And before I get into a few of the details that we covered, I'd like to thank all the volunteers who offered their support to that driver group, and we look forward to working with each and every one of you. And at the end of the day, that is what is going to move this driver group forward and help us achieve our objectives that we have set out as targets. At a session on public-private partnerships, waste and energy, telecommunications. They were all very focused in their core areas. I think we realized that we need to work a lot closer together, both public sector and private sector, if we want to really make a difference. In many of these areas, I think one of the panelists said, if you're standing still, you're moving backwards. So I think that's a very good analogy to use in many of these areas. Waste to energy, I think, is something that sounded very encouraging, something that I think we can look forward to with a new waste management facility, when and if that ever comes to play. You know, we certainly need more focus on policy. We want to identify and prioritize a list of major infrastructure projects, confirm funding sources and timelines. That's only going to happen if we work together with the public sector and focus all of our energies to those important goals. Justin?
Thanks. Yeah, as Barry said, that was probably the main chorus, working together. The private sector's off trying to do something, the public sector's off trying to do something, and how do we come together and create that synergy and move forward? And from the public sector side of it, from the minister right down, the chief officer, they've all committed that, you know, this ministry will push this forward, and I'm here to reconfirm that, I guess. And we will move forward on a number of projects and a number of high-level documents that will try to move that forward. We've got the solid waste project being discussed. There's a couple of more in there, and we're gonna do a sincere push, especially from those volunteers that signed up, to reach out to you all and get you on board. I think over the last few years, we've sort of tried to work from the background. We've got to be more transparent and let you all know what's really going on. There's a lot of work happening, but no one knows what's happening. So we're going to try and disseminate information a lot more as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Barry and Tristan. I can certainly attest to the fact, having worked quite often with civil servants, I certainly don't subscribe to the notion that is often put out there to the negative. My experience has been that the folks that I've dealt with, and certainly that have made contributions here today and to this program, are extremely hardworking, and we value your service and what you're doing. So thank you very much for that wrap-up and for being here today to lend your stature to that. At this time, it's my distinct honor to welcome the Honorable Makiva Bush, the Premier of the Cayman Islands. Mr. Bush serves as the leader of the United Democratic Party and is the first elected member for the beautiful district of West Bay. He is the longest-serving member of the Legislative Assembly, currently serving his 7th term, representing West Bay in the Legislative Assembly of the Cayman Islands continuously since 1984. At this time, I welcome you to the podium, Mr. Premier.
Mr. Kakaldi, Chair of Future of Cayman 2012 Forum, Mr. Chris Duggan, President of the Chamber of Commerce, other distinguished leaders at the head table, colleagues in government, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the day's events, and given the importance of the work done here today by luminary minds within the private sector, the civil service, and academia, it is an honor and a privilege to be entrusted with the task of providing closing remarks. I apologize for not being here throughout the day, but we had a parliamentary prayer breakfast this morning which went more into later stages, and then we had the legislature in session until just a few minutes ago. At the outset, I must first commend the Chamber of Commerce, particularly Will, Mr. Panu, and David Kakaldi, for pushing this joint private sector, public sector initiative. When government was approached to get involved back in 2010, we did so without reservation because it made good business sense and because we understood the value of collaboration. And throughout the time, our civil servants have played their important role up until this very evening or afternoon. In this global environment where the wheels of commerce are always turning, it's virtually impossible for any single organization, association, or government to keep abreast of all opportunities and threats in the internal or external environment. That is why partnerships between policymakers and industry participants are important. Those of you who have been here on these islands long enough know it's a model that has benefited these Cayman Islands ever since our early ventures into financial services and tourism. This sort of consultation and regular exchange has been an integral part of what helped transform us into a major international financial center. It also has kept us in the top tier of jurisdictions for quite some time. This is why I was not surprised at the progress we have seen in the past 2 years as a result of this strategic and collaborative approach. This morning, both Mr. Kakaldi and Mr. Dugan gave a thorough overview of the 5 Future of Cayman drivers, and they outlined the outcomes attained thus far. Deputy Governor Franz Manson also did an excellent job of reporting on the achievements of the public sector and showing how those aligned with many of the objectives and actions outlined in the Future of Cayman strategic report. I am aware that discussions in today's breakout sessions focused on 2 economic drivers: build a smarter infrastructure and develop talent. And I thank the moderators and participants for their time and commitment. I've been told that contributions were sage, largely succinct, and often spirited. I like that kind of contribution. As with all such events, and today's Future of Cayman Forum has been an exceptional example, our minds have been inundated with ideas, data, and individual and collective visions. Certainly, the future of Cayman Steering Committee will need time to sift through them all, to consolidate the notes into actionable items that will further refine our collective roadmap. All of us in this room have varied backgrounds, varied perspectives, different perspectives, and passion. But your presence in this audience suggests that we have at least one thing in common: a hope for a strong, growth-fueled, and sustainable economy. I firmly believe that having a diverse economy, that is one based on a broader range of well-performing sectors, not just two, is the way to attain sustainability for the Cayman Islands. My administration is proud of the work we are doing in this regard. We've passed legislation that enables the establishment of special economic zones in these islands. And the first such zone, Cayman Enterprise City, launched in February this year. It is uniquely positioned to attract global science, technology, commodities and derivatives, media, and educational entities to our shores. Since its inception, 41 companies have either established a physical presence in the CEC zone or have signed up and are in the licensing process. My most recent update indicated that the CEC business development team is working with an additional 157 companies in their sales pipeline. And we are now looking at how we can position Cayman Brac, how we can move them into Cayman Brac somehow. That is possible, and certainly, if I have any more to say about it, it will happen. Also, legislation will be introduced shortly that will allow us to compete in the medical tourism space, thereby enabling the Cayman Islands to diversify its economic base even further. You have seen the news today that Health City Cayman Islands submitted its planned area development application this past Wednesday. They are expected to open with a 140-bed tertiary care hospital in Grand Cayman in late 2013, providing services in cardiac surgery, cardiology, and orthopedics. Over the next decade, the hospital will expand to a 2,000-bed facility and offer a broader array of services. Plans for the complex include an assisted care living community, an educational and research components, a medical university, and a biotech research center. And last but not least, Cayman's new insurance law and soon to be passed regulations, I'm trusting that that will be done before the year is out, open up new frontiers of business development. And when I talk about reinsurance, I have to be careful. This creates, nevertheless, a regime for the creation of reinsurance arrangements that are financed through capital markets. This is a major headway for us, as it facilitates the attraction of the lucrative reinsurance sector, which will give us even more depth and breadth in our suite of service offerings. Naturally, these advances need to be bolstered by a supportive business environment, a strong infrastructure, and a talent pool that is attractive to current and potential employers. Both public and private sector have roles to play in these areas. On my part, I know government policies and procedures must be pro-business. And whatever else you may want to complain about myself or my government, you cannot say that we have not been pro-business. We have supported business every step of the way. I know government policies and procedures must be pro-business. I can assure you that the legislative and regulatory environment that I have supported will continue to support industry, because developments will be made working hand in hand with industry. On the operational side of government, I acknowledge that information sharing across agencies and departments and the period between business-related application and decisions needs to be more consistent and timely. We have made inroads in some areas, but there is still room for improvement in others. Customer service in both the public and private sector is an area that will need collective attention. We are fortunate to live in a place where overwhelmingly the 120 plus nationalities that reside in our little country respect each other and work together to make these islands an easy place to live. And those who are saying otherwise are not telling the truth either, because that's Caymankind at work, and a positive can-do attitude still exists in these islands. But those of us who go about our business here daily know that that same positive can-do energy doesn't always spill over into the workplace. We need regular training programs and a client-first business culture to change paradigms. Now, don't get me wrong. Many persons are already flying the customer service flag high, but there are areas that need to be addressed. And as you and I both know, a few bad eggs can create a lot of spoilage. So let us continue to work collectively towards changing that. With regards to our country's infrastructure, many aspects are sound, but of course, there are areas that needs to be strengthened, can be strengthened. For example, following increased competition in the telecommunications market in 2003, the majority of our infrastructure enhancements have been wireless networks for both mobile and fixed communication services. Currently, our broadband and mobile penetration rates equal or exceed those of the United States or the United Kingdom. Nevertheless, some users and potential investors still have concerns about the security and reliability of wireless networks, and there are, in fact, limitations on the bandwidth that can be provided. To meet the soaring demand for bandwidth, many ICTA licensees are now building their own fiber optic networks. Government certainly supports that. These additions will support very high-speed internet access and high-definition interactive cable TV services. Not to say, again to repeat, that we haven't done well as a country since 2003. Just on my last visits, when I went to China and Taiwan, I was reminded about how easy it is to still do business with Cayman because of our telecommunications. So we have done well. As my government in 2003 brought about the competition in telecommunications, my government supports such network developments today that I have been talking about. They are essential if we are to promote the Cayman Islands as a technologically advanced jurisdiction for both offshore and local business. We will therefore do what we can to facilitate these infrastructure enhancements by ensuring that government agencies such as the ICTA and the NRA continue to work cooperatively with private sector stakeholders. Our medical facilities, roads, and utilities are reliable still and support our existing population. But in planning for appropriate growth and development, we will need to address our future capabilities. It is no secret that our airport, seaport, and solid waste management facilities need enhancements. While our efforts the airport and seaport have had some setbacks, we will get them moving forward using the new prescribed processes, as time-consuming, onerous, and very costly they are. In the meantime, the proposal for a comprehensive waste management facility continues to move through the appropriate technical review processes. And at the same time, the FCIA, the DART agreement, or commonly known as the DART agreement, is continuing to be reviewed by the appropriate bodies, and the road building is continuing down to West Bay. And of course, we will hopefully soon be able to open up the road, close off the front piece, get the hotel built, get the public beach widened, and all those that want to complain will have to complain. I can't stand here and promise you that these projects will happen overnight, but they will get done. What I can promise is that government is committed to making sure the social, environmental, and economic factors are continuing to be considered and worked on as we proceed. I can also promise to move these projects as quickly as we are allowed to, recognizing their economic importance to the people of these islands, and that they will be done so as to achieve real value for money. I can't help but just to say that on the road to West Bay, I only have one road in and one road out of West Bay. That has to be changed. I don't care how many protesters come or how much they blog me and say how bad I am. It needs to be done for this country to move forward. And we are doing it legally, and we're doing it right. We're going to have a good road, and as I said, I want you to understand that we are pushing ahead with it. Now, I have to speak about how we are expected to move these forward. There are those who whine and dine and gulp down everything they are told today about good governance. Good governance, which seems to be nothing but pure, unadulterated bureaucracy. And how much, so they say, these islands lack in box ticking so-called good governance. You and I know, and all honest people know, even to blind Bartimaeus, that times have changed in many instances. This is not 1950, 60, 70, 80, 2000, or 2008. 58 years. And to those who say we have deteriorated and that our forefathers or former legislators had done things better, those of you who have been here a long time, just let me say it, I'm sure you'll recognize, they got things done. They got it done. They builded a country without all the bureaucracy. There was no, and I'm looking at Mr. Cameron's speech, I like to quote him. And this is a keynote speech to the annual conference of the Confederation of British Industry. Prime Minister Cameron said, and I quote, "Government has been like someone endlessly writing a pros and cons list as an excuse not to do anything at all. Consultations, impact assessments, audits, reviews, stakeholder management, securing professional buy-in, complying with European Union procurement rules, assessing sector feedback. This is not how we became one of the most powerful, prosperous nations on earth. End of quote. I got some. I wonder if the press would like to pass these out. This is a statement I made in the Legislative Assembly. If you haven't Googled Cameron's speech, please do. But here are some, and I'd like you to pass them out. I think I only have about 40 or 50, but I'd like you to give them out. Please, give them out to the press, to the coalition, to everybody here. And to the PPM if they're here too. What I am trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, if those persons, if those people, those legislators, or others involved in managing our islands, if they had to go through, all you heard Cameron I read from Cameron's speech. If they had to do all of that, which I am now being asked to do by them and some of you, then we would not have had the West Bay Road as it stands. None of it. If those legislators of the day, had to do all that, FFRs and all that I've just read, there would not have been any duty-free regime. Maybe some people would have got investigated for conflict of interest. There would not have been an expansion of the Owen Roberts International Airport. We would have still been there with a thatch hut. If they had had to go through, those legislators of the day had to put up with what I am having to put up with, which the UK is asking me to do and some of you to do, we would not have got the two oil terminals. No, we would not. If they had had to do it, we would not have gotten Cayman Airways, which now adds more than $250 million to our gross domestic product. If they had had to do that, we would not have gotten the Georgetown cargo dock. I could continue. I think those of you that want to agree will agree with me. Even my harshest critic will say it is true. Yes, times have changed. I want you to read Mr. Cameron's speech, because he's saying, we need a blitz in Britain for recovery. We need not to do the things, tear up 1,000 pages of planning regulations so that our businesses, our construction companies, and our laborers can get work. And here, you are cursing me if I move an iota. Some of you, not all of you, thank God. Too many of you, though, are Chambers members that are doing it. Because you should know better that we cannot continue in the way that we were doing business. The world crashed. It crashed in 2008, and everybody needed to change the way they did business. And now, if I say something to one of my departments, one of you are blogging, saying I should be investigated, and it's interference. Read Cameron's speech, the home of democracy. Our Prime Minister, I made a statement and I said, when people read what Prime Minister Cameron has said and continue to accuse me of being a dictator or a one-man band, they should really be asking what then is happening in the UK. He said, not even judicial review. He says he's going to shorten that. Ministers are going to stop listening to all this consultation, and they will decide what is good for the economy. Read it. And I say this, I can see what is happening in Britain. Prime Minister Cameron is using good common sense. There are people who don't want him to succeed. There are people who want to be the government, but don't have the responsibility. And there are people who are just downright jealous and dirty. Well, the speaker made me took the word out, dirty, and obstructionist. I said to Mr. Cameron, keep on doing what you are doing. You have time. Sad to say, I don't. I will see Mr. Cameron. Should say this to you. We are invited to number 10 next week at the FCO meeting with us. First time a prime minister has met with the leaders of the IFCs, they call us. Some of you wrote, I will have my chance to talk in person. Ladies and gentlemen, that's enough about that. You just get it and go online and read what Prime Minister Cameron said. If you think that I am doing wrong by trying my endeavor best to get your business better, you think your business can succeed with some of the things that they want to do? No, it won't. Your business is going to stagnate. Don't listen to these people who have no responsibility. They only know how to talk. Talk is cheap. Criticism is cheaper yet. It is your business. It is your business. Me, and I speak frankly with you, I don't know if I want to go back and be premier. I didn't want so in the beginning. They made the Constitution, and I happened to get elected. But while I am there, I'm going to carry out my responsibility no matter how much you accuse me, no matter how much you say things that hurt, and you do. It's not about an election for me. I've had 7 terms, 28 years. And I can get the next one if I want. It's not about that. It's about how this island succeeds. We cannot succeed without people, where I stand on immigration. It cannot succeed without business, where I stand on business. You know where I stand. You hear the accusations, but you know, and you've seen the projects on the table. So let them accuse, let them speak their worst. It is your business, it is your future, it is your children, it is your grandchildren. It is the future of these islands that I must be concerned about, not a blog on Wendell Leger's rubbish. Sorry. I have to say what is best for these islands. Now, let's get back here. I thought I should put in this piece on Cameron's revealing his battle plan to cut Whitehall, box ticking, as he puts Britain on an economic war footing. Ladies and gentlemen, let me turn to my next point. The ability to attract and retain top talent and develop our local workforce via robust educational programs is another area that can keep us competitive. We need to aim for sustained good performance at elementary, secondary, and tertiary levels so that we continuously nurture and prepare our youth for their place in their workforce. Collectively, we also need to work on establishing knowledge transfer programs within new and existing partnerships so that professional growth through on-the-job experience can occur. And while we've had our failings, let me congratulate the Chief Officer for Education, let me tell you, they work. They work. They work hard. The private schools do a fantastic job, and I congratulate them and thank them, and we contribute where we can to them. But the Chief Officer, the Minister, and the Department, they're doing well. The programs are there, their results are improving. It doesn't take a building. It takes programs, and it takes good teachers, and they are doing their best, and I want to thank her for her work. She's a mother, and I know when I see her leaving there sometimes in the building and coming in early, that her children knows the want of her work. And thank God we have many, many hundreds of good civil servants like that. Oh, you got me feeling good this afternoon. We live in a world where sourcing and hiring talent is borderless. In response to increasingly tough competition, business owners today are locating their companies wherever they can best profit. So our employment and immigration laws and policies must fit to take into consideration all those matters. The availability of highly skilled, qualified, and experienced staff is crucial to business success, and we are aware that employers place great emphasis on that factor when making their location decisions. We have unemployment, but those of us who are politicians and those who want to be politicians or want to get elected need to have the guts and the good common sense to stand up and say, Caymanians, we have good workers, they are our people, and those that work, we must assist. Those that don't believe they've got to be to work at 8:30, but they can walk in at 9 or 9:30. Those who take all their problems from home to work. Those who don't care to improve themselves, although there are community college programs. We need to say to them, no matter how much work we get, you need to improve. And those of you who want to get elected, like me, and like those of us that are already elected, need to say this. We need to be honest with ourselves if this country is going to improve. And we are not going to build it with 10 people. What we have here in an economy demands much more than we have. Many more people. Are we ready to accept them, or are we ready to be a fishing village again? Nova Scotia is looking for a business. So is Luxembourg, the financial side, and that drives mostly everything in these islands. And so does our tourism. We're doing well in tourism. I know that I haven't heard much complaints. And I used to tell my chief officers, if you don't see me coming, you know that your department is doing pretty good. If you see me coming every day, you know you're doing bad. So I don't hear much complaints about our tourism. We're doing well. You know it. But there is competition still. There is still work for us to do. Don't fool ourselves. All this takes a very progressive and hard-nosed and hard-standing immigration policy that we need to accept and stop being hypocrites. To beat McKeever because you can beat him. You can beat France. He don't have to get elected. According to our latest census, Cayman's total population is 55,000 plus. Of that number, more than 37,000 are in the workforce, and approximately 23% work in the insurance, financial services, and business sectors. At last count, I'm told we have some 550 lawyers, 900 accountants, 200 Society of Trust and Estate professional practitioners, and 110 certified financial analysts. Per capita, I'm sure that puts us in the category of having one of the highest concentrations of financial services professionals in the world. So although immigration policies have been heavily criticized, and we can do that, as I have just done. This shows, though, that we have been somewhat competitive. What it is, what is not is, ladies and gentlemen, is that it's just not enough for the kind of economy that we have and the standard of living that we have had. And unless we're prepared to take a lower standard of living, then don't do anything. But we cannot have the same standard of living we've been used to and think that we're going to decrease these numbers. You have to accept that. The increased mobility of labor means we have to keep working harder at retention and finding the right balance in our talent pool. And we are trying to do that. That's what I want to do. And if I am not there, I hope that whoever is there next year will continue down that trend. If they do what was done in 2005 and 2009, dog, eat your supper. That's a West Bay saying. I was going to talk a little bit about where I stand because I am talking about immigration, but I want you to attend the forum in January, and you'll hear just what we are doing with the paper recommending acceptance of the committee's proposals, the term limit report committee. There's still work left to be done on that. Some of it we have announced, but there are much more to be said and to be done, and I'm waiting until January to be able to make those announcements. You see, I've learned a little bit. I used to, when I first got elected as premier, I used to stand here and tell you everything. And boy, that's all they wanted. They nearly killed me. I won't do that again. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of work is still to be done before, or whether we go with the new term limit policy and whether that can take effect. But we are working steadily towards our goal. We cannot build this country with a few people. It is obvious. It is obvious when we see how many businesses is closed, restaurants closed, others closed. If we as Caymanians, and I speak to all of us born Caymanians here, let me just put it that way, no disrespect to anybody else. But if you think that me and you is going to become millionaires or become prosperous by doing what happened between 2005 and 2009, when the Goldman Sachs ran from this country because of immigration policy, because they stood up and said we didn't need foreign people here, and because they crucified me and voted us out of office. It cannot happen, my dear friends. Our standard of living will keep going down, and what is happening today will continue. More and more people losing their mortgage. More and more people can't really feed their family. And the people that we really need to help, who are down the man on the street, those that run from job to job, we can't. We don't have the funds to do it. And so my telephone is banging every day, text messages. Strange to say how many of them can text. And they text and they send emails and they're asking, they can't pay their light bill. Ladies and gentlemen, I say that a little bit in jest, but it's a serious matter what has happened to our economy when we could have been doing better. Simply because of so-called good governance, and everybody that wanted to call everybody crooked was allowed to do so. Think on these things like Jesus said to Mary, ponder them in your heart. As I close, I hope each of you will leave here full of new ideas and a renewed sense of both purpose and possibility. Oh, just want to say I wasn't campaigning, okay? You and I are part of this simultaneously local and global community, with access to an expanded network of information, advice, and support. Let us commit to ensuring that the conversations you've had today turn into collaborations and actions that endure. None of us can do it alone. Together, we have the power to drive economic growth and promote a shared prosperity for all. But we do need a change. And it's not about political change. It's not about party change. No. It's not because I like green and blue. They're my favorite colors. Green is for go, green is for money, green is for the environment, and blue is true. It's nothing to do. And it's all in our flag and our coat of arms. Nothing about that. It is, my dear friends, about our future. I'm a worker. I'm born on that side of the street. You can hear how I talk. I'm born on that side of the street. I work like many of you, or all of you. My mother raised me to work hard, and that's what I've been elected to government to do, and I will continue to do that for you until May, if they choose somebody else, or if I choose to stand again. But for God's sake, for the sake of your families, put on a different thinking cap. Coalitions, blues, greens, whatever, that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about systemic problems that we have to face. We are talking about what is expected of us by the United Kingdom. We're still at overseas territory, and we have to stand up. We know that. You know that I'll take them to court. We'll win sometimes. But I need to stand up when I'm pushed. I need to be able to pull back when I know I can't win. And you, and you, and you must understand that it is not about political power. No. It is about our business, our survival. Can we make it work? Can we continue? Can we expand it? And don't expect to make a shilling out of every sixpence in Georgetown. You know what I'm saying? Expect that somebody else is going to get some of the business, and that you don't need to get all of it. Ponder these things in your heart, my dear friends. If you want me to come back, not an election, come back to talk, I will come back and talk with you. But these are my thoughts. This is where I stand. Oh, I could be here another hour. Thank you. And may the good Lord bless each and every one of you and your family, your children. It is about them in the end.
Thank you, Mr. Premier. Thank you, Mr. Premier. It's always delivers a stimulating speech. At one point, though, unsure of just exactly how much of Prime Minister Cameron's speech that you were going to read, I saw Will Pinot seeking the chamber checkbook to quickly run out to Welly's or Mango Tree for a couple extra trays of turtle stew for the cocktail reception, but realizing it wasn't going to be the whole thing. But thank you very much for your spirited wrap-up today. One thing that I know we can all agree on is that the positive can-do attitude is what made the Cayman Islands what it is today, and is what is going to make it what it can be in the future. Much good will come of it. To close the day, I'd like to now introduce you to the Future of Cayman Steering Committee Chairman, Mr. Shane Howe, who leaned over to me and said his speech is gone from 30 minutes to 5 or less. Just kidding. Maybe 1. Shane came to the Cayman Islands at the age of 9. On completion of his education in Canada, he returned to start his career in the construction industry with Phoenix Limited, a family business. Learning from the ground up, over the last 23 years, Shane is now the managing director of Phoenix Limited. In his off time, Shane enjoys supporting youth sports, the arts, various associations, and volunteer programs. Please welcome the chair of the Future of Cayman Steering Committee, Mr. Shane Howe.
Thank you, David. I do have several pages. We're half hour over, so I'm not going to hold you. So I'll just touch on a couple of points. First of all, I just wanted to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank Mr. Bostock for giving me this opportunity 3 years ago when he tabled it at our first Chamber Council, and it was a big passion of mine. One of my reasons for getting involved with the Council was to make sure the collaboration between the private and public sector got a lot tighter. So it fit really well with my main objective, and it's pretty much been my focus over the last 3 years. It's been a long process, but very rewarding. I just want to encourage you on a couple of points before we go and into the cocktail sponsor final address. And I wanted to make sure that everyone did look at the report card. The report card's really important. It's a lot of small print, but take the time to read it and recognize that the achievements have been made. We wouldn't continue on with the initiative if it wasn't getting results. We really are. It's been a rewarding process for everybody involved. I encourage those that haven't had the opportunity yet to get engaged. Nothing's ever perfect. Some subcommittees never stay together, and lots do. And we've had the lots do attitude on this group. So it's a people's document. It's not a chamber document. It's not a government document. It's a country's document. So everyone needs to make sure that they stay involved in it at whatever level, at whatever time commitment that you can provide. It's not a long, drawn-out process. If you can give a couple hours a month, or more than that is appreciative. So just please take the time. And I wanted to make sure, and maybe you can pull up the website. Is that possible? Not sure if everyone has had the opportunity to see the website that was developed for the initiative. It's, again, a live website. It's an economic driver of the initiative. It's live. The Economic Statistics Office is working very closely with the Chamber to make sure that the information that's up there as the economic drivers for each of those, the indicators for those, are published. So you can really see how we're doing in all the different areas. The endorsements are there. The addresses from the Premier, the agreements that we've had in place, the objectives, the actions, and the results. So don't have time to navigate through it right now, but the strategic report, which there will be copies at the chamber desk out there, it can be downloaded on here. That's what we're working off of. That's what we accomplished together with both sectors 2 years ago. It will get modified moving forward. We have an election, we have association input, we have business surveys. All that gets reestablished, and with the co-chairs managing their drivers, new objectives and new actions will get addressed and added to the program, to the initiative. Completed items will get taken off the list and will move forward after implementation. Our success would not have been possible without the hundreds of people that invested their time or endorsed the economic initiative. So I'd like you to sit back for a minute while I read all their names. Kidding. Go get that turtle stew. Yes. I'd like to thank the Deputy Governor, the Premier, all elected MLAs, all ministries, chief officers and their staff, government departments and authorities, the Chamber Council, Chamber staff, Future Cayman Steering Committee, the Forum Planning Committee, all of the sponsors throughout the initiative, the many private sector leaders involved, and everyone that took time out of their busy schedules today to participate. Thank you. I'd like to invite up to the podium Bob Taylor, the new CEO of Westar, our cocktail hour sponsor, for a very short, brief closing, and he's got a 1-minute video, I believe.
Thank you very much. Well, after all of those great comments, I'll keep this as short as possible. Obviously, at Westar, I've been here about almost 3 months now. We are as bullish on the Caymans as anybody could be. We're on our way to a $100 million investment here. And within the next 5 years, you will have the most advanced communication system, not in the Caribbean, but in the world. And we're going to deliver that. We're starting now, and that's our commitment to the Cayman Islands. Rather than spend a lot of time and keep you here, we have a little video about what we're doing and what this is going to bring, and thought we'd end with that.
Fiber is fast. So fast that you can upload a full-length HD movie faster than it takes to make a bowl of popcorn. But what makes it so fast? Fiber uses light-based optical technology. Light travels along a fiber optic cable in the form of photons or particles of light. Frequency signals are encoded into the pulses of light, so a computer can translate the signals into data. Since fiber relies on beams of light, it's less susceptible to noise and interference than other data transfer mediums, such as copper wires or telephone lines. Unlike wires or lines that have limited capacity, fiber optics are capable of transmitting billions of digital bits per second. Because of fiber optic technology, homes installed with fiber will have access to significant bandwidth. This means your neighbor's online activity will not have any impact on your online experience. Because the cables are fragile and need to be installed with care, the lines are difficult, expensive, and time-consuming to build. But because of the incredible technology and the careful execution of this new network, fiber is an investment in your home. We believe that installing fiber will increase your property value, and once it's installed, it's yours. More importantly, it's an investment in your community. When you bring the infrastructure into your neighborhood, you're helping to connect schools and hospitals. Think of it like bringing more light into your community and more information into your life.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Welcome you to please join us now for cocktail reception. Thank you.